I'm Phil Berman from Balance Catamarans, and now that we've been in business here with Balance for 6 years building catamarans, we've got over 20 of them out sailing around the world and another 8 or 10 on build. I'm asked at a lot of boat shows, well, why are you building your boats in South Africa? And there's a lot of reasons why this type of boat should be built in South Africa and why we build it in South Africa. And much of it, as I've explained before, goes all the way back to the fact that we had the Hobie World Championships here in 1979, and after those World Championships, 72 brand new Hobie cats were sold and distributed throughout the southern coast of South Africa, which created this huge sailing infrastructure and community, which in turn led this birth of enthusiasm for catamarans. And so this is why we have so many different catamaran builders here in South Africa, and most of them started out sailing Hobie cats and got that buzz, and then started building these catamarans here. And what makes South Africa ideal for building this kind of high labor boat is that you've got a mix here of high, mid, and low skilled labor, which is required to build boats like this. They require a lot of fairing, a lot of handwork, because they are completely bespoke boats. These boats, really, the Balance 526 and the 620 are really built like racing boats in many ways. Everything's foam core and epoxy, and everything's hand sanded, faired, and spray finished. So it leads to these incredibly really light boats, and it requires this mix of labor and efficiency. The other thing that's really great about South Africa is it's an English-speaking country, and the law is in English and the language is in English, which means that it's very easy to talk to the guys on the shop room floor about changes, to communicate by email, to communicate over phone, for our customers to easily communicate with them. And most of the guys on this shop room floor that are like major team leaders are all sailors themselves. They're sailors, surfers, and watermen. And so they instinctively know when something is right and something is wrong. And so you don't run into some of the problems you have in other countries where the people that are building your boats really aren't sailors. And I find that's a really important part of building in South Africa. The other thing that's great about South Africa is that in Cape Town we have really the best marine procurement infrastructure in really all of the southern hemisphere. France is very good, and Europe is good, the United States is good, and South Africa is really good. We have sail makers here, we have mast makers here, we have distributors for all the major marine components in Cape Town, and that's in part because boat building represents 14% of South Africa's export market. And so in Cape Town you've got Robertson and Kane, you've got Balance Catamarans Cape Town, where we build the 482 and the bigger custom boats. You've got exquisite yachts, you've got scape yachts, you've got Southern Winds, just a lot of boat building in South Africa. And so it leads to this community of procurement, which is really, really helpful. One other thing that's great about South Africa, particularly for Americans, is that South Africa has favored nation status. So at the present time, there's actually no import duty on any South African built product. So our boats come in to the United States duty free, which is not the case for boats from France or boats from China or other places. And that certainly gives us a bit of an advantage in that market. The other thing that's great for us in South Africa, both here in St. Francis, where we build the 526 and 620, but also in Cape Town, where we build the 482 and other larger custom cats, is that our boats are launched right next to our factories, and they're commissioned, and they're taken directly to the sea, and we're able to test our boats, perfect our boats, rig our boats, and sea trial our boats without having to bring them back to the factory. They go in the water, we dial in the boats, and then they're ready to sail away. And that's huge. Kind of hard to explain how great that is. Because right now here in St. Francis, we have a boat just down in the port a few miles away with another crew of people doing the final commissioning on the boat. And in the next week or so, that boat will be off sailing to Cape Town and then on its way to the Caribbean. And those are really nice advantages, because the sail from Cape Town back up to the Caribbean is a nice broad reach all the way, straight, easy sail, 4 or 5 weeks and you're there. Also for an Australian or for people in Asia, you sail a little bit south, pick up the top part of the 40s, and then just dash right across. So it's a great location to achieving lowering the cost really of the delivery of our boats to our customers all over the world. So that's another really cool reason. And then the final reason of South Africa is, guess what? When you fly down here and you stay in Cape Town or you visit South Africa, you're going to see a magnificent country beautiful wine, beautiful food, lovely coastline, great surfing, great mountain biking. The customer experience of buying here in South Africa is absolutely unparalleled in the world, and I challenge anybody to contest me on that, because I've sold a lot of boats all over the world, and I never tire of coming back to this beautiful country.